I'm Melanie, and I own my own landscape gardening business. I've had my business for, I'd say full time, about 5 to 7 years. Before that, it was part time, and so I've just been gradually building up my clients, building up my business. My clients tell me that I do a really good job. They're happy with what I do. And the obstacle that I was having was my least favorite part of the job, which was the admin and my accounting. I'm really creative. I love what I do, working with my hands. And that there just seemed to be this huge block around me getting the money for the work that I did. And my clients were really happy. They all told me how happy they are with me. And I know I work hard and I do a good job. There was no issue with that. It was just the obstacle was me asking for money. And it just ballooned into this massive issue for me that spiraled. I'd feel ashamed. I'd sort of feel less than. I felt it was really embarrassing, awkward. There's a whole bunch of these things that had come up for me. But that wasn't the reason that I got into self-concept. I knew I needed to change. There were things that I wanted to go forward with. I chose this career because I needed something that would create a foundation for myself and my son. It was something that I could do, that I was capable with, but I also felt like there's so much more that I had done in my life. I have a huge creative side to me. I was in the food business. There's all these, I was traveling, all these things that I did. And I just felt like there was so much more that I wanted out of life and what I wanted to do. So when Projects for Change came up, then I thought, okay, I really need to crack this. What I realized was, and you and I talked about it, I was doing a lot of the research. I was dancing around everything, and I could conceptualize it and I could talk about it, but I wasn't embodying it. And I was there kept being this resistance that I kept hitting, and I knew I needed to go through a longer process. And through me doing the Projects for Change with you, and really I made a commitment to keep pushing through it. And that was the difference for me.
So as you were doing, because when we're doing our Project for Change is that kind of deep immersive group where we're kind of really delving into some transformations for ourselves in relationship to a context in our life. And so I know you had a big goal, and then what you were really hitting was sort of like as you mentioned, resistance to invoicing. So it was all that kind of money issues popping up. And so I want to kind of just talk about that for a moment as you were addressing that, because you're like, there was all the shame around it, all these feelings. So how long has it, you sort of came to a head, right? But were you always having an issue in relationship to money, right? Or not sending off what you invoices in the past, or some resistance to kind of, asking for what you're worth, kind of in that sense, for that money transaction. So has this always been a kind of a long-term problem for you, or?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I can
showing up. Yeah. How was it showing up?
Well, I was really great at working for other people. That was easy because then I didn't have to, there was a transaction and I didn't have to do any of that I could just do the work. So it was fine if I worked for others. But I mean, this goes back. I remember the worst and the first, we have to do that process. Yeah. And I really remember when I was young, I had a paper route and I had to go door to door to go and collect the money from my clients, from my customers. And they all loved me. It was great. But when it came to that, I had a really hard time. And there was one customer that yelled at me and he tore a strip off me. And that really, it was pretty traumatic, I remember, but that wasn't necessarily, that just reinforced the problem
Yeah.
for me. So, but yeah, no, it was, there was more issues around it than I had really realized. And I needed to get to the crux and the root of what that was. And it became a, I guess, sort of a investigative process as to what that was, how it came to be, and yeah, so it was pretty in depth.
And so you mentioned some. So what were some of the like really the impacts or the consequences from having this problem? Because you mentioned like you weren't invoicing, so you weren't making money, right? And so, and you said it kind of snowballed. So how did it really snowball for you?
Well, I mean, it just got to the point where I was just eking by. So I just do, I do little bits so that I could, I could afford to live. But there was all this, it just got more overwhelming, and this, I could feel it in the the sort of monster in the back of me, and everything was sort of closing in. Yeah, I just made it a bigger issue, and it became worse and worse and worse. And the worse it got, the less I was going to take action because of it, because it just became this huge mess, and it was affecting me because I couldn't do the things that I wanted to do. There's a lot of things that is for, I just decided, oh, well, I'm not going to buy that, or I'm not going to go there. I limited myself in so many capacities, because ultimately the money was representing how I wasn't investing in myself, and how, and that value and the self-worth and all of that snowballing into what I had realized. It's kind of like the deer caught in headlights. I froze, and I just knew that I had to. And that was the other thing. Like, I couldn't ask for help, because that would make me vulnerable, and it was embarrassing, because I didn't want people to see that I didn't have it all together. That I wasn't as competent as I appeared to be.
Yeah.
So, but the stress and the weight that I carried on a daily basis, I didn't realize until I went through this process. Physically, I didn't realize how much it was affecting me. Yeah. So it was mental, emotional, and it was definitely a physical experience. I was feeling.
And kind of, and so how did it come out physically for you? Because you kind of mentioned like the emotional and
yeah,
feeling. So how did
just more, I was stiff, rigid. I wasn't breathing. I wasn't sleeping very well. I was stressing constantly, just because it was always there. It was always the back of my mind. It was always something that I knew I hadn't dealt with, or then I had to go and see the client, and I was totally fine doing work, but there was the, avoidance that I could physically feel. So, yeah, just like tension in my jaw. Just my back was really quite painful, apart from the fact that I do a pretty physical job, but it's just compounding.
Yeah.
It's just something that I just became, oh, it's normal. It's just, I just took it on as this normal thing for me, but not even realizing how much it was really affecting me.
Yeah. And do you think it impacted anyone outside of you as well, by you not kind of just?
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. Well, everybody around me that I was dealing with, clients,
Yeah.
Definitely the relationships that I had with my family close to me. But I always tried to hide it. I was pretty guarded, not disclosing my struggles around it, because I didn't want anybody else to take it on either. So immediate family members. So, but yeah, I mean, there were certain things, well, I can't really afford to buy groceries that I wanted to, or go on vacation. Just because, and also I had sort of all this accumulated money that I knew that I had, but, and maybe it was forced savings in a way, I don't know. But yeah, no, it definitely affected. It definitely, and because I was stressed out, right? So if I was talking to my immediate family, that's how I'm relating. I'm stressing all the time about, well, can I afford that? And, rent's coming up. I have to make sure that you know, and I do like last minute, 3 minutes to midnight, last minute billing, hoping to God that it was just a panic and just, yeah. So it just definitely affected myself and everybody around me.
And so let's explore like what began to shift. Like what changes did you start making from our work together that started shifting this whole this relationship with money?
Well, one of the things I remember when we had the conversation, and I laughed about it because you totally caught me when I had a different goal, right? Well, I'm going to research this, I'm going to research that, and and you're like, wait a second, you're not doing any action. Like, oh, right, okay, yeah, that's my big. I can think and think and think and think and overthink and think my way out of things and think, make excuses, and I'll put it off. I'll do it tomorrow or whatever. But that's I love the research. Oh, it's really interesting. But I wasn't applying anything that I was learning. I mean, the whole time I was learning about self-concept, I was not applying anything that I had learned. I was like, oh yeah, I totally get it. So going through the process, and then, you're pointing it out. Oh, yes, because I'm really good at that. I'm really good at the research part. And then I realized that was something that I needed to do. And okay, what does that look like? How do I put this into action? And then, of course, through me thinking, because I was thinking about starting a new business and all these different things, what I wanted to create in my life, like, well, I need money. Oh, okay. Well, what's my problem with money? And I wanted to continue with the program, and I didn't have the money to continue with the program because I didn't bill. And so that meant that I couldn't continue on. And it just became this crisis for me. And I thought, okay, I need help. And one of the big things was I asked for help, and I basically, like, one of the things he said to me is, you're just going to have to pull through it. You basically had to, like, it's tough. Tough beans. That's basically what we were talking about. And you're like, just going to have to do it. I'm like, I am. And just like pushing through that pain point, and then shrinking it down, and putting forward what I did actually want. The other part that I really knew that I needed, and we talked about, was I needed accountability. And so I needed to say to you what I was going to do, and it had to be measured. And this is how many invoices I'm going to do, and this is how much time I will take in order to do it by, I don't know, I think I said Monday or Sunday night. And I was like, and so then I had emailed that to you, and I had said, okay, I need this accountability, because clearly, I have to prove to myself and to you. And that was the thing that I was just so grateful for, because you were just right there. That support is totally what I needed. And the accountability piece, and I was able to put that through, and I pushed through it. Not only that, is that I had a client who I basically confessed to, and she was a financial advisor, And she's like, well, I can help you, because I was saying the problem was is that I have an issue with math and filling out forms. I it's more difficult for me. So I met with her. We set up time, and that was the measurable part. And every week, after I was doing self-concept, we had to have actionable results. So I met with her every week for 3 weeks. I met with you. And so I was able to report to you. I had the accountability piece. And then I met with her, and my client was able to set up a system. And so I met with her every Monday for an hour, and we went through the program. She researched the program for me that I could do my invoicing. It made it easier. And oh my God, it was such a relief. Like everything just started to unfold. And we were doing one invoice. And as we were doing the invoice and we sent it to one of my clients, my client paid me within that hour that we did that. Yeah. Yeah. So
Wow.
it's not like people were begging to pay me.
They're like, we're waiting for your invoice.
Yes. And I have another client. She's like, remember to send me the invoice.
And I remember at this time also, which I appreciated you mentioning, because we were kind of volleying emails back and forth and talking, and I remember you going, oh my God, I'm having so much resistance to these invoices. And you basically saying, like, I journaled like 3 or 5 pages of all past like history of issues with money, and like that coming up. So, which I'm guessing you also began to kind of address in the kind of doing the self-concept work, like addressing all that kind of past history.
Yeah.
Through. And so since we kind of work on qualities, right? Like transforming past experiences that we thought were negative. What were you noticing about yourself as you're doing that kind of transformation work? Like, what did you now sending invoices kind of start meaning about? What kind of new meaning did you place on that for yourself? Does that make sense?
Oh, it does. It does. Yeah. And definitely I journaled a lot.
Yeah.
And I really recommend that people do that, because that was the other thing that I resisted, was journaling for some reason. But as soon as I started doing that, and the thing is too, when I was going through the resistance part, and I'll get to what you were saying before, as soon as I started, then things started to make more sense to me. And I could understand and start unraveling. As soon as I went and just addressed all that resistance and started to investigate that, it wasn't the research part, it was just putting it actually into the actionable steps of how you get through it.
Yeah.
And then yeah, so as I was journaling, then I was transforming, and I figured, I was trying to protect myself. Okay, well, what does that mean? And then I went and had to go deeper into that. Well, I needed calm, I needed peace. I needed to feel, and there also was some sort of control, like I needed to feel some sort of control, and and what would happen and what ifs and all these things. And I sort of realized that I was really, all it was trying to do was protect it. And then, but I had to see the higher value of that. And that's when I went into calm and peace. And love and trust.
Mm-hmm.
So those were the higher values that I really came to. And since then, more obviously has come through. But that was specific to what was going on. Yeah, that's what I had to process. And that's what that was, that the discovery and going through it. That's what I came to.
Yeah. And so when you're talking about like love and trust, how does that relate to now your kind of new relationship with yourself and money, when you think about that for yourself?
Well, here's the interesting part, is that I don't feel emotionally attached to it anymore. It's just a transaction. So I detached and I disassociated.
Yeah.
so, and so the love and the trust part was that, it's okay. Nothing, it was whatever happens, I can handle it now. I have the inner resources. I can deal with whatever happens. And I trust myself and I love myself enough to know that the sky is not going to fall. If whatever happens, I can deal with the situation. Whereas before, I just didn't feel like I could. What if this? What if that? What if that happens? Oh my God, what if they get mad at me? What if they don't feel, I was worth it or whatever. So here's the interesting thing is that one of my clients I billed, and then I thought, oh my God, that's a lot of money. And then I emailed her back and I'm like, I think I need to go over the invoice again because I was like, oh. And she emailed me, absolutely not. You worked really hard. And she sent me the money. Oh God. So it's just, yeah, it's
I love that.
really hilarious.
And
Yeah.
so what other of the what other positive results are you noticing from like our work together on this? I mean, you're mentioning already like really cool interactions with your clients who are just like, yes, here.
Yeah.
What else are you noticing? What other positive results are you noticing?
Well, I definitely, like, physiologically, it's like this huge relief. Like I just feel completely liberated. And then I feel way more competent. And I feel like the next goal that I'm putting ahead, I can do it. Yeah, so I'm feeling now that I've got that piece. And it's the thing is, it's not like, oh, okay, that's magic, on to the next. It's kind of like a settling in process that happens. And so now I was mentioning I just felt liberated and I could feel it in my body, and it's such a release and a relief. And now I also feel like I have so many more possibilities that I can now that path is cleared. So now I can start focusing, and I have more clarity, and I'm feeling like it's not a control thing. It's just I feel more competent, and it's not coming from outside forces anymore. It's all from within, and I have those resources. I have those powers within me. Things that are going on around me with my family. I'm using self-concept. So I'm disassociating, or I'm putting myself, as the observer, or I'm putting myself in the other, or I can sort of detach a little bit more. I'm not getting so emotional. Before I was just reacting to everything around me constantly. Everything was happening, and I was, bouncing. I just felt like I was bouncing from one thing to the other, and I couldn't hold anything new, or I couldn't deal with situations that were going on. I get more emotional about stuff. So yeah, that's definitely changed, and now I feel like I can move forward onto bigger goals. Or, well, if I can do this, and I know the process, and I know what I needed to do, and I know what the resistance was around it, and where that came from, then I can use those tools again. So you're just constantly compounding those experiences, and so then I have more positive examples that I can draw from, rather than. And then I'm also realizing, I also see I'm not focusing on things that didn't work, or or the big emotional things. But I know how to shrink that down and bring in my positive template, and have my positive movie in front of me, and all my tools and resources. So that's definitely changed for me, and I'm beginning to see things differently, and I don't feel so bogged down emotionally when things come up. Is a big thing.
And so what is it like to even learn this about yourself, that like these positive shifts, like, oh yeah, the fact that you're saying, yeah, I'm not so reliant external kind of validation, or more, I'm feeling more confident, I'm not so reactive. I mean, what's it like to learn this about yourself?
Well, I think it's pretty great. I mean, I've used words like liberated, excited, and yeah, it's where I want. It's where I've wanted to be. You know, it's where I've wanted to be, and just didn't have the tools to get there and the resources to get there, and knowing that I now have that and I'm capable of that. It's pretty fantastic. I mean, I'm not saying like, oh, life's rosy and I can.
Yeah, we're still human.
Right. I mean, but it's not tripping me up as much as it did before. Yeah. What can you ask me that question again?
I think I just said, what's the learnings that you've had,
Yeah.
about yourself? That's kind of.
Yeah. I think the learnings are. I'm not even buying into the whole societal trap. I mean, whatever I can do, whatever I want to do, I'm totally capable of it. I mean, I have a pretty creative background as well. I can really draw from that. And I can start utilizing that again. I'm just becoming more alive, and that light inside of me is just being able to. It's like I'm creating an environment for myself that that's possible. Anything that I would like to do is possible. I don't feel limited. So the other thing that I've really realized is going through this whole process is that I can see. Well, yeah, I've talked about this before. I can see the possibilities, but it's giving myself permission, and that's a big thing that I've realized is giving myself the permission to do whatever I want. Whereas before it was like, oh no, you can't do that, or you can't do that. No, stay in your little corner, stay in your little box. Don't think big. Just stay like controlled, because that's all you can handle. And once I broke through that, then I was able to say, oh, I give you permission. You have my permission. And that's another weight lifted. And I talked about feeling liberated. That's part of it. And the only thing that's limiting now is just my resistance to doing things, but then I know how to get through it. And so that is bringing me feeling like I'm more confident, and then calmer. I have more love towards myself and others. I have more peace. And then ultimately, one of the big things is having freedom to create the life that I want, and realizing that's possible. But it's really it's not difficult. It's trying to explain that and convey that, because it's something that I feel and I know. It's just more of a deep knowing that, and I don't really, and the anxiety piece is not there for me either. That's another thing that I've really noticed. I am sleeping way better as well.
I love that. And I think you hit on something that's so, I think, profound. It's like you said, that inner knowing is there now, which sometimes we can like have a rational or like an intellectual kind of knowing, but it kind of is detached from the actual internal knowing of just like in your being. And I think that's when you kind of hit there, that really deep inner knowing is where like really, that's when you know something has really shifted and changed.
And that's the difference. Whereas before, it was just all the intellectual part, and the other piece to that was what I needed to craft through going through the projects for change. I did, and I persisted. And this is the thing that I brought in, commitment. It was the persistence piece, accountability. The other thing is that I tend to be really quite serious, but going through the process, I also wanted to integrate fun into that. And even my son commented, "Mom, you're just not fun anymore." Oh, okay. But then through that, I started having more fun. I mean, and here's the weird thing. This happens to me all the time now. Okay. My friend moved. She's like, "Oh, I have so much food. I just want you to take it all. I don't want to deal with it." Like bags of amazing food that she brought to my doorstep. One of my clients, she's like, "Have you ever heard of Christmas in July?" Like, I think so. I don't know. She's like, it's not a concept people talk about a lot. But anyway, here's $50. I'm like, okay. What else happened? Someone gave me a $20 the other day too for something. I can't remember. But it's just like it's not just money, it's abundance in many different forms that are showing up.
Yeah.
Here's the other thing that I actually journaled about, that I'll just tell you now because I haven't told you. So my next project for change and what I'm working through, my other goal, I went out to have fun. I went to a concert that my friend randomly invited me to. She had an extra ticket. Great concert. And I sat next to one of her a friend of a friend. We're talking, and he was talking to me about exactly what that my next goal is and what I'm focusing on. So I've made a connection. I found someone that I aspire to as a mentor. That's not him, but someone else. And I'm okay. I'm on the right path. These are all these signs that are happening to me, and they're just accumulating now, more faster and faster.
I love that.
Yeah.
And sort of now just kind of, it's sort of like that, like woo expression, like clearing the money blocks has allowed abundance in all forms, but like,
yeah.
kind of, right? Kind of in some way.
Yeah.
Great.
But that was the other thing I remember saying too. I was like, there's all this money coming to me, but there's all this money going out as well. And I'm like, okay, I think I'm understanding the flow of this. And even now, like sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm spending a lot of money right now. Oh, so, and then I'm thinking, okay, like I have to, is this bill going to come through or this invoice coming through? So I'm working through trusting that process.
Yeah.
And then, but all these things keep showing me that, no, I'm doing it right.
Yeah. I love that. And can I ask, because I think you did mention it, how much money did you make during our Project for Change time?
Okay. So, I had just looked before I had gotten on the call, and as we were wrapping up and I was reporting, I got another invoice through the payment, and it was over $5,000.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
I mean, it's not for me.
That's good.
That's pretty good.
That's great.
Yeah. So there's more to come, and then I just I keep getting jobs, or people keep asking me to do things. So yeah, just keep that flowing.
I love that.
Flowing. And then it's just so fun. It's just fun. It's just like all these things come up. So, and that's the thing about bringing in all the positive examples now. So I'm like, oh, put that in. There's another example into my database. Oh, there's another one. It's like I'm looking for it now, and that's all I see.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. Just all the possibilities and all of it. So now I'm getting all these ideas about how I can generate more income. So I got these like passive income ideas. And yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, think about it, because there's like this resistance to asking for money, and now you're like, I'm generating all these ideas about how to make money, right?
Oh yeah.
Look at and you're really focusing on now like the potential moving forward.
Yes, that's the big thing. It's the potential. It's having the tools and the resources, knowing that it's unlimited. I mean, you really understand. I really understood. Like you said, it's not the rational thinking part of it. It's the knowing that really it's just getting out of your own way, and well, doing the work to get out of your own way, and bringing the possibilities into sight, and not really worrying about the other stuff.
Yeah.
Because ultimately things just work out the way, well, that's the way I see it.
Yeah.
It's not like rose colored glasses. I mean, I've worked bloody hard. So
Yeah. And knowing that, like you mentioned before, knowing that you can handle it if something, right? Something comes up, like you have the trust in yourself to be able to handle that now.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's huge, because then, and the other thing is that people have definitely noticed.
What's that like? So what respect?
Just making comments about how I am, just like I'm more calm, or they can see that it's like the way people are responding to me is, oh yeah, she's a competent person, and or she has something to say, or that people are actually, they're listening to what I'm talking about, or yeah, I mean, I kind of steer away from this self-confidence thing, but it's just having this, oh, I just they've they're asking me to do things, so they know that I'm competent.
Yeah.
And they're asking me for advice, or they're like, oh, you look great, or I haven't seen you in a bit, but you seem like you're really, relaxed, or, yeah. I was with my friend the other day when we went out, and I was just had fun, good time.
Yeah.
So yeah, we were just really in more of a positive headspace. So she had commented on that.
Yeah. And I think that's the cool thing is about, like, when you do inner work, like you're doing it for yourself, and you're kind of changing yourself, like it's really kind of natural, organic change from the inside out. And so people will respond right to that. And it's like, it's kind of just affirmation of the work you've been doing,
Yeah.
for yourself, which is really cool to see.
Yeah, and I don't have anything to prove. That's the other. I'm not walking around I just don't have. I'm like, that's cool. You be you. I'll be me.
Yes.
I went to a party last week as well. They had a big party, and it was about 100 people there, and I knew like a few people, but not very many. I was like, I feel totally fine. I just don't feel nervous. I don't know anybody basically here except for one or two people. I had a great time. Yeah, I connected with like one or two people, like really connected with them. Totally same wavelength, resonated, and that was good for me. I had a great time. Just I made it that way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I love that you said that. I made it that way.
Yeah.
You're right. Because it's like,
yes,
you're being now. That's just how you are now.
yeah, and I'm just setting the intention. I just set the intention, and then like I meet this fellow, and we're completely on the same wavelength, and he and I are we've both been thinking the same thing, and I'm like, right, okay, like even to the point where, okay, well, we're gonna do, like, let's do a nonprofit. Okay, how are we gonna do that? Oh, it has to be grassroots. Okay, well, this is what I've done. These are my experience. He's like, okay, well, this is what I've done. I mean, I basically talked to him for, I don't know, half an hour, and we already come to that point. We haven't even had a meeting. This was just at this concert that I talked to him about. So I don't know, just feels like rapid. It's like making up for lost time, something. Yeah.
I love it.
Because even though I have my landscape gardening business, that's fine, but I wasn't utilizing all of my skills and abilities. And so that was the thing that I wanted to go further with. Yeah.
That's
So
awesome. So there's still more to come then, really, when you think about it.
oh
So
yeah,
we'll see.
watch
Since we're
this
doing the
space.
next immersion. Exactly. We'll see what progresses even more from here.
Yeah, and I think that's the exciting part about it, is because I've pushed through that, and obviously I'm going to hit more resistance as I go through whatever it is, but it's less. It'll take less time. I know the process, and and it's the motivation that I find really fascinating. I want to do this. So I feel so committed and determined and motivated, to push through. And I know that there's even more that I can do. So I mean, it's just there's always these layers you you go through, and there's, oh, okay, that's interesting. It's like the advent calendar or something. You peel off,
Yes.
you open it up, and you're like, right, okay.
We are complex creatures.
You open door number 3. You're entering into that. Yeah. So, but it's exciting. I didn't know necessarily what to expect. And the other thing I want to say is, I've always wanted a coach or a mentor that could really help me make a difference with my life. And I found you, and you have been a pivotal, huge part of that, and like hands down. So I have to give you massive amounts of credit, because you pushed me when I kind of faltered a bit, and you were there. You were there for me the whole time alongside. Obviously, I had to do the work, but you're a huge part of me pushing through it. And so I have to acknowledge you for that. I want to, because that's massive, and like full credit to any success that I have going forward. I'll put in like any books that I write or whatever it is. Lani. Well, yeah. So that's 100% the truth. Tons of like credit and all sorts of thanks to you, because yeah, this isn't something that I could have done alone. That's for sure. And that's like anything in life, right? I think we all need to have our support systems around us, but I'm eternally grateful. Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
And the other thing that I want to say about self-concept as well is that everybody that I've worked with, and it's genuine. It's they really want us to succeed. It's not like anything I've ever found or encountered before. And I really, really appreciate everybody involved, and the coaches, because I've gone on a few other coaching calls, and Yulia and Damon and Nate, and you, obviously, because I've worked mostly with you, just because I felt like I had a connection with you more, but I can definitely learn from all the other coaches as well. So going on the calls again, you're always, yeah. So that's one thing that I really wanted to say, because yeah, it's taken me a long time to find a program where there's step by step. It's all there. It's all there.
Yeah.
You're frozen again. Yeah.
Yeah, you came back.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So it's all there. If you're ready, you're going to be accountable. You have to commit. You've got to do your journaling. And I had to come to valuing myself, investing in myself. This is important to me. And what do I really want this transformation?
Mm-hmm.
It has to, pulling out these inner resources that I have, and just doing the work. And I was skating around for a long time. I just really didn't dive in to what I needed to do. And of course, I'm not going to get the results if I didn't do that. So. Yeah, so there's so now I've gone through that process. It's not so big and scary for me either.
Yeah. And I think that's the realization is like once you really kind of dive in, you realize, oh, I can do this. And then it's just kind
Yeah.
of really stopping you at that point. Because oftentimes people are like, well, is this gonna work? I'm like, if you put effort in, like it's almost impossible not to have results. I feel
Yeah.
like you have to have results if you're actually doing the work. It's like
Yeah.
there's no way around it.
And hands down, totally admit I was not doing the work.
Yeah. But now look at you now, Melanie. Look at you
Yes,
now.
but that I can't even stress how big this is for me. This is huge for me. It really is. It's been the bane of my it's been the bane of my life for so long that I just didn't address it. I just go on and pretend, just pretending that things were fine. And they clearly weren't. And I just, I knew that I had to do something. I just didn't know what that was. And then anyway, so I finally found self-concept. Great. But then it's like, oh, well, you really have to do the work. So, and like, I don't know how I can convey this to people. Like, I am one of the worst people, and one of the worst examples of like really not doing anything and then saying, actually, I did it. Yeah, this is a big testimonial for me. This is like, I don't even have the words to express how big of an issue it was and how much I really transformed through it.
Well, I'm super excited for what lies ahead for you, and I'm glad that you're in my next immersion that's going on right now, so I get to see firsthand the additional progress.
Yeah,
continues for you.
Yeah, we'll see where watch this space.
Yes,
so we'll see what happens.